Hey guys, how are you doing? Welcome to the Girls Learning Network YouTube channel. And here is a place where we learn and we connect with one another, just like the name says, Girls Learning Network. So if you're here and you're interested in all things personal development, you want to learn things that will help you grow, develop, become better persons, you want to learn more about how to grow in your career, in your businesses, how to make the right decisions, how to do better in your relationships, in your marriage, whatever it may be, then this is the right place for you. If you want to learn how to improve your lifestyle, learn more about your faith and how to improve better in that area, then this is the right place for you. So welcome on board. And if you just see my face for the first time, my name is Chizobam Obiajunwa, and I am your host here at Girls Learning Network. So we're going to be having so much fun here, and we'll be learning and becoming better versions of ourselves. Okay, all right. So today we're going to be talking about a very important topic, very dear to my heart, and I don't know. I don't know how many of you have read this book called Atomic Habits. I know is the book is quite common. Many of us have been hearing about the rave for a very long time, for years now actually. And I've read this book a couple of times. So I thought to myself, okay, why don't I come on here and share some nuggets with my girlies? Now, not just from the book. So what we're going to share today was inspired by the book. So is what the book is centered on, okay? And we are going to be getting a lot of real life stories, persons who, apply the principles in that book in their lives, and we can see the results today. Okay, and so without wasting much of it, and let's get straight into it. Now, first of all, what are we even talking about today? Okay, so we're going to be talking about how tiny improvements, how small changes cause remarkable results in our lives. Okay, how very tiny changes, small changes here and there, how they can bring about very huge improvements in our lives, in our businesses, in our careers, in our relationships. Okay, because most times when we want to, you know, do some upgrades in our lives or bring about some major changes, we tend to look at the big things. We tend to think it's those big things that no, most times it could be those little things. I don't know if you've heard of this phrase where we say tiny small forces, right, that spoil the vine, little forces that spoil the vine. So most times it's just those small things in our lives that are causing those big problems that we are facing. So if we could just bring about some improvements, some changes in those small areas in our lives, then we would see the major improvements, okay, that will take place in our lives. Now let's look at this story so we can drive home the point and we can understand better what we're talking about. Let's start with James Clear. Now, this man, if you've read the book, you know about him. Now, he's the first story we'll share, and then the other stories are not even from the book. But there are men and great women that we know of who apply these principles and they're doing so well. Some of them are late, some are still alive. Now, one is James Clear. We'll be sharing about nine of them very quickly. Now, James Clear, he was involved in baseball when he was in school. He was a baseball player, and then one day, while playing in the games and all that, he got hit and he fell down, and that was how his health issues started. They rushed him to the hospital, ICU, and all that and all that and all that. At a point, he thought he was going to lose some parts of senses in his body and all that, but thankfully he later got himself back. Now, how did he fully become a better person? How did he fully recover? Okay, now it is this thing we're talking about here, these tiny changes, these tiny improvements. Now, according to him, he started making some tiny improvements in his life, such as he told himself that he'll be waking up early every day, something as simple as that. He'll be waking up early every day, waking up at a certain time consistently every day. When you make these small improvements in your life, you see there's an astronomical growth that happens, astronomical difference that takes place, and it's very visible. It may not be visible at first. In fact, it won't be. At first, it look like you're not doing anything, but with time, you would see those little things accumulating to a lot. Now, imagine this, right? Maybe you have a faulty tap in your house, and the water that is leaking is very little. Now, do you know what happens? Now it will look as if the water is very little, right? It's just little drops of water, very tiny drops of water. Now let me tell you something. Leave that water, leave a bucket there. Don't allow the water to waste. Leave the bucket there or a bowl or something and go out. No, leave a bucket and go out in the morning. Come back in the evening. You will see that those tiny droplets of water that were coming out from that tap that was leaking has accumulated to fill the whole bucket. So most times when things are happening in tiny bits like that, you to look like it's nothing. But when you measure and evaluate, you would see that, man, that was something big. Okay. So now that was what James Clear did. He told himself that he's going to make very tiny improvements in his life, no matter how little, no matter how slow the progress may be, all those small changes. He also, implemented a very consistent workout routine for himself, right? And then guess what happens? A lot of improvements that happen. I know there's this philosophy that says that 1% improvement, if you make 1% improvement every day of your life, at the end of the year, you would have accumulated about 37% improvement in your life. That's what you'd have made. And so this was what he did. And then he was able to recover. He went back to playing baseball after that traumatic incident he had. He went back to playing baseball. He wrote a best-selling book. This book is, a world bestseller, really, and he has done a lot of good things for himself. So this is one example of how making tiny changes, small improvements in our lives can cause a whole lot of positive improvements in our lives. And now the next person we're going to be talking about is someone called Ali Abdal. I don't know if you know him, but he's a very well-known YouTuber. Now, who is this guy? He was a medical student. He's a medical doctor. He was schooling at Cambridge, and then I think around 2018 or so, right? He started creating videos and posting on YouTube, and the videos were majorly centered on you know teaching people how to prepare for medical exams. He was trying to promote his courses, so he had courses on teaching medical students how to prepare for their all these medical exams that they take, because he was really quite brilliant. Okay, so he was doing those videos, pushing them on YouTube to help him promote his courses. But he noticed that he was getting a large, number of followers, viewers, and all that. And he thought to himself that, okay, there's something really in this thing. And so he now decided that he was going to be, publishing and uploading one video every week. That was his plan. Just one video every week. Just one. And he did this for a very long time. And in 18 months, his subscribers grew to 100,000, just by those consistent efforts he was putting in, one video per week. And then from preparing videos for medical science and all that, he now ventured into other areas like personal development, productivity hacks, study tips, and all that. And now he has over 4 million subscribers. He's making like seven plus, seven figures plus, as a full-time content creator in dollars, and he's doing so well for himself. And of course, he left the the medical career that he was pursuing, because at a time then, what he was getting as income from YouTube had even surpassed what he was being paid as a junior doctor. So now, can you see how those small consistent efforts you can put into what you're doing can help elevate whatever it is that you're doing? Now we're going to get into the next one, and the next one is not just a person but an organization, a company that I'm sure everyone knows about, and that is what Toyota. We have what we call Toyota Production System, and that was what skyrocketed their growth. Now they had this principle they call Kaizen principle that they came about, and that was that each day every staff member would submit one idea or one suggestion that they feel is a way that they can improve their products or their services or their processes. Just one every day, every staff, from the top director down to the least person in the organization. And they did this, and of course, after months and years, they had gotten you can imagine hundreds and thousands and millions of ideas and suggestions of how to make their products, their services to become better. And this skyrocketed their growth. And they were not just collecting those ideas, but they were implementing them. If they check, okay, this idea makes sense, it will help us to reduce loss, to make more profit, to attract more customers, to retain our customers, to increase our customer base, to make our products better, our processes better, they would adopt it immediately. No procrastination. Just one idea every week. That was the plan. And of course, you know where Toyota is now. Almost every family has a Toyota product, a Toyota car, right? It's very common. And not just that, but the automobiles are very strong, very durable, very dependable, very reliable. And they also had this reward system that they would reward those who came up with very brilliant ideas. Now you can think of how you can implement this into your businesses, okay, into your career. And of course, we'll be having series, like I said, we'll be having series where we'll bring in people's businesses and all that, different kinds of businesses in different industries, and see how we can apply these principles practically, and what the results will be like. We'll do all that. This video is going to be a series, and you will really enjoy, because you'll see so much improvements in your businesses and in your careers. Okay, now let's go to the next one. And the next person we're going to be talking about is Benjamin Franklin. I don't know how many of us here know him, Benjamin Franklin. So when he was growing up, he had this idea. He wanted to, inculcate 13 good virtues in his life, right? To groom himself to have these virtues, these 13 virtues, such as temperance, the modesty, doing things in moderation, being modest. Then he had cleanliness, honesty, humility. 13 virtues that he brought together. Said, "Oh, I'm going to really implement these virtues in my life. My life will be a testament of these virtues." And so he started, and his plan was that he would focus on one virtue per week. So you see how, in these things, you break them down, make them very simple, so that it won't be overwhelming, so you can actually achieve results, which is the main purpose, the main goal, right? So he brought out 13 virtues, one virtue each week. This week I will sit on this virtue. I would become so good with this virtue. I would have it. I would embrace it. I would become it. And he did this. So in a whole year, he would rotate these 13 virtues like 4 times in a whole year. And guess what? He became a very fantastic human being, very fantastic business person, fantastic writer, very good. And I mean, when you do such a thing, you will know that you will see the result all over your life, in your business, in your career, in your marriage, family, and all that you do. Now you see how this example of small changes, small improvements here and there can produce very huge and wonderful results. Okay, now we're going to go to the very next one, and that is, this one is very special to me, because she is a girl, a lady, a woman, and one that I love and admire so much. And who is it? Drum rolls. Serena Williams. I'm so excited talking about her, right? Because we're talking about men, and this is a girly channel, girls channel. So why have I not talked about a lady since, right? Serena Williams. Now we all know her, very fantastic athlete, very fantastic tennis player, but she didn't start like that. So she also implemented this into her life. And what did she do? She told herself that she's going to each so she planned her rehearsals, and of course, if you know her, you know that her father was her mentor, her coach, her trainer. She and her sister, when they were growing up, Serena and Venus. So so later on, she now had this idea that each practice session she's going to have, she would focus on one core part of her body. So maybe, let's say, this particular training sessions, she'll focus on her arm movement. This particular one will be on her leg movement. This one will be on the way she holds the bats, things like that. So each one should focus on one particular thing, the power of focus, the power of one thing. She did it. Each one, she did it. And so that was her story. That was how she really, owned her practice sessions, focusing on one core part each time, getting results in that one before leaving that practice session. So you can imagine what would happen. Why wouldn't she be as successful as she is? So look at how you can implement this thing in your business, in your career. Okay, you can tell yourself that, okay, this week I'll focus on my marketing or marketing of this particular product. I'll die on it. I'll focus on it, see the end of it, right? The power of one thing, the power of focus, it can do a lot that you can imagine. Okay, all right, now let's get to the next person, and that is Stephen King. I don't know if you've heard about him. Stephen King, a very wonderful, prolific writer. Now, what was his own, plan? So he told himself that he was going to be writing at least 2,000 words every day. If I not at least, he just that was his target, 2,000 words a day. He didn't make it small. He didn't say, oh, at least so that we can write 3,000, 4,000. No, he just said, no, just 2,000 is okay. I won't even exceed it. I won't go below it. Just 2,000, around that every day. So from 8 a.m. to 12 noon, he would focus on that 2,000 words per day. And of course, as you're doing it, practice makes you become better, right? As you're doing it, you see that he saw that he was doing so well in his writing, he was improving. And at the point, he found out that he had written books out of that little habit that he decided to develop. And now he has written about 60 novels and about 200 short stories. And this body of work, this 16 novels and 200 short stories, came from that habit that he started practicing. So you see, so it could look like, oh, just 2,000 words a day. But I think you do it every day, every week, every month, a year, nobody will see your back. Try it. Check your business, your life, your career, whatever that is. It could be your marriage, right? If there's a particular thing your husband is always complaining about, find out how you can, you know, improve. So take one part of your marriage that is a challenge, a problem, work on it this week, work on it this month. Do it. Don't worry, we'll break down these things, segments of our life, and I believe that end we'll all become better persons. Okay, all right, now let's look at the next one. And the last one that we're going to be talking about today is the British cycling and Dave Braceford. This is what we're going to be talking about. British cycling and Dave Braceford. After this, you can Google it and see more about it. Now, what are we going to talk about here? Now, for a very long time, the British cycling team were doing very poorly, very very poorly, and nobody wanted to associate with them. There were no resources, and so at a point they were so underfunded. The government didn't care, nobody cared, funders did not care, and they were doing very poorly. But then they brought in one man to be their coach, right, to mentor them, to train them, whose name is Dave Braceford. That was the best decision they made. Of course, they didn't know it at that time, probably. Now, what did this man do? He implemented this system that we're talking about, small changes, tiny improvements, which leads to huge, huge differences, big results, right? And so he looked at the team critically, he did lots of research, looked at the team, and then decided to do this, that he was going to find tiny, small things in the team that they would improve on, that would bring about big results. Tiny things, little things, as little as their dieting. He checked with the team, what were they feeding on, especially during sports, during the game time, the game seasons, when they had games down that, or were their food, like their feeding and all that, right? How were they sleeping, what time were they going to bed, what time were they waking up, how many hours were they sleeping in a day, how many times were they eating a day, what time were they eating, what were they eating, what mattress were they sleeping on at night after rehearsals, what massage gels were they using on their body, what cream, he checked every tiny bit of thing that could improve or reduce their performance. Every tiny bit, he checked them and said to improve on every single one, no matter how tiny, how small, how insignificant that one might be. He improved on every single one. And of course, this doesn't happen overnight. You first of all have to do research, and then be patient, even if you're not seeing results, and then start improving each one, everyone. Improve their feeding habits, what they were eating, how they were sleeping, their minds, everything. And guess what? Of course, the results will always show. This is not, it's not stories, real life. The results will always show. Guess what? There were improvements. They became better. And between 2008 and 2016, they won about, was it 20 Olympic medals? Yes, go and check it. This was a team that even locally, they were not even local champions. They couldn't even compete local champions. They were doing very poorly. But imagine winning how many Olympic um medals within. They did so well. They started getting funding. They started raising top athletes amongst them who were competing globally and all that. They did so fantastically well. They became well known. Started getting lots of revenue, so lots of sponsorship, funding, partnerships, and all that because of those little tiny improvements that they made. So we're going to end this here. So what are we saying? What's the conclusion of the whole matter? Look at that area of your life that is not doing well. Is it your business, your career, your finances, your marriage, your relationships, your health, your faith life, whatever it is, look at it. Check those things that are the cause of the problem. You know, research, look, check, you ask questions, you will know. Ask yourself, how can I improve in these areas? No matter how little, no matter how tiny, bit by bit, how can I improve? Start doing it. Even if you're not serious, don't be discouraged. Just start. Just start. Little by little, small by small. Believe you me, after a while, the results will show. The results will show. All right, thank you so much for watching. So, like I said, it's going to be a series. So we're going to be having videos where we'll be talking about different businesses, different career paths, different areas of our lives, and how we can practically implement these principles in them. We're going to be very practical, very raw, very real, very truthful. This is a no judgment zone, a no fake zone. We are being real, and we are all here to learn and to become better girlies. Okay, so invite those you need to invite. We'll let them watch this video, let them subscribe to the channel. Girl or boys, women or men, everyone is welcome. Okay, it doesn't matter as far as you're here to learn and to get better. All right, so I'll see you next time. Please like the video, hit the thumbs up button, drop a comment below, subscribe, hit the subscribe button. Take care of yourselves. Okay, all right, bye.